Time is ticking, and at the time of recording this video, the company has only 9 days left to give an official response to the community. 9 critical days to make a fateful decision that will determine the future of the entire franchise. The clock is ticking, pressure from viewers is growing by the hour, and the company's silence is becoming increasingly loud and eloquent. But it is precisely at this tense moment that a mysterious and extremely intriguing spoiler from the long-awaited 81st episode has unexpectedly fallen into our hands. At least, that's what people are actively claiming on the internet, and this image is already spreading across social media at an incredible speed, sparking heated discussions among fans. However, it is important to emphasize that this information has not been officially confirmed at this time. No source close to the production has provided any comments. Moreover, even Strider, a well-known animator who, as we know for a fact, was supposed to work directly on the animation for episode 80, has not made any public comments about this leak. And yet, at this particular moment, he is perhaps the only person who can say with certainty and authority whether this is actually an official frame from the upcoming episode or a clever fake created by a talented fan. Now let's take a closer look at what exactly we see in this mysterious spoiler. But before we begin, I would like to ask you to subscribe to the channel and click the like button. The image clearly shows an Astro woman, a completely new character who we have never seen in the series before. Her appearance is a sensation in itself, as we have seen very few female characters among the Astro race. If you look closely at the details, the distinctive mark on her helmet suggests that she belongs to the elite military unit Astro Juggernaut and is directly subordinate to this powerful commander. The symbolism on the helmet is very similar to the insignia we have already seen on other members of his unit. However, we cannot categorically rule out another even more intriguing and dramatic theory. It is quite possible that this mysterious Astro woman may not be just a subordinate soldier, but the daughter of Astro Juggernaut himself, and this version has serious grounds. After all, as we well remember from the series' lore and various hints, Astro Juggernaut does indeed have many children scattered across different worlds, dimensions, and military units. It would be an incredibly powerful plot twist to introduce the daughter of one of the main antagonists. As for the technical quality of the image itself, in terms of rendering, lighting, model detail, and overall style, it really does look very, very similar to a real professional spoiler from an official episode. The quality of the work is impressive. The textures are detailed, the lighting is set up correctly, and the character model itself looks complete and professional. However, despite all this visual quality, I have to be completely honest with you. I would only give this material about a 50% chance of being absolutely authentic, no more. Personally, I cannot be completely sure and give a 100% guarantee that this is really an official frame from the upcoming episode, and not a high-quality fan work by a talented 3D artist, or an intentional leak created to generate hype and distract attention from the real conflict at this critical time. So, just recently, a raw excerpt from the first part of episode 80 was leaked online by animator Strider. It's a real leak, but with improved graphics. And yes, this is the legendary episode that viewers have been waiting for several months, building theories and guessing what will happen next. The clip itself is, of course, unfinished. No dialogue, no final voice acting, no polished animation, but even what we've seen allows us to draw a lot of interesting conclusions and build some well-founded theories. The episode excerpt lasts about 1 minute of pure screen time, and the rest of the video is taken up by demonstrations of various character models, technologies, and locations, which in itself is intriguing and gives food for thought. But most importantly and significantly, Strider has publicly confirmed on his social media that he is indeed involved in the animation of episode 80, which lends even more legitimacy and credibility to this leak. It all starts with a wounded operator, slowly and laboriously raising his head from the ground, his dull gaze falling on the imposing figure in front of him. Astro Duchess, one of the most dangerous, mysterious, and influential representatives of the Astro race, commanding entire fleets. The surroundings look extremely alarming, gloomy, and apocalyptic. The sky is covered with dark storm clouds, through which a dim light breaks through. The area is completely destroyed and in ruins. Uncontrolled fires rage everywhere, and debris from equipment, buildings, and bodies lie scattered about. The atmosphere perfectly conveys a sense of complete chaos, destruction, and the almost total hopelessness of the situation. Then, the UFO toilet appears in the frame, another high-ranking member of the Astro toilet hierarchy, who rapidly flies up to the Astro Duchess and begins to report something actively and quite tensely, judging by his body language and gestures. A dialogue ensues between them, which, judging by their movements, facial expressions, and gestures, seems quite important, serious, and tense. But since the excerpt is still in a raw, unfinished state, there is no voiceover, subtitles, or even hints as to the content of the conversation. And this is where the most interesting and intriguing part begins. What could they be talking about so seriously and tensely? There are several most likely versions and theories. The first and most obvious at first glance is that they are discussing something directly related to the G-Man, one of the most mysterious and influential characters in the entire series. As we all remember, DeFook solemnly promised in the comments a long time ago to reveal the true meaning of the mysterious dialogue between the G-Man and the UFO toilet, which took place in the now distant 60th episode and has since been the subject of hundreds of theories. Perhaps the UFO is reporting to the Duchess about G-Man's new movements, his current location, or the critically important fact that he has finally activated and used his legendary secret weapon in battle, the existence and power of which has been the subject of persistent rumors in the fandom for so long. The second, equally plausible version concerns the mysterious location of Titan Cameraman, the first and legendary Titan of the entire series, whose exact coordinates remain a mystery and unknown to viewers since the memorable 76th episode, where he disappeared under mysterious circumstances. This has long been one of the main unsolved mysteries and intrigues of the entire series. Where exactly did the first Titan disappear to? What exactly happened to him after the last battle? Is he even alive? Or did he die a heroic death, captured or free? If UFO Toilet is indeed reporting on this critical moment, then episode 80 may finally give us the long-awaited answers to these agonizing questions that have been troubling the fandom for months. The third interesting version is that they are discussing in detail the strategy and tactics of a further large-scale attack on the weakened alliance, or actively coordinating the combat operations of numerous other Astro squads scattered across the planet. After all, these two influential characters, UFO Toilet and Astro Duchess, occupy very high command positions in the strict military hierarchy of Astro Toilets, so it is logical that their strategic decisions could radically determine the entire further course of the war and the fate of the planet. At this point, it is impossible to say for sure. There are countless realistic scenarios, and each of the ones listed is equally likely and plausible. At the very end of the short clip, the wounded cameraman once again lies helplessly on the cold ground amid the rubble, and the dramatic scene abruptly ends at the most interesting moment, leaving us in complete suspense, bewilderment, and with a tremendous desire to know what happens next. But even these few precious frames give us a wealth of valuable visual information for detailed analysis and theorizing. Judging by the location itself and the surrounding destroyed environment, the setting is very reminiscent in architecture and layout of the legendary destroyed base of the cameramen that we have already seen in the dramatic previous episodes. And what is especially surprising and even shocking is that after that real bloody meat grinder and almost total destruction, which was cruelly carried out there by ruthless Astro Toilets, methodically destroying all living things, someone still managed, by some miracle, to stay alive and wait for possible rescue. This wounded cameraman is living irrefutable proof that all is not yet lost and that there is still hope for salvation. Most likely, and almost certainly, the Astro Duchess and her entire well-armed squadron deliberately remained at this place of destruction and strategically waited for this critical moment, setting up a classic military ambush. They probably set up a well-thought-out trap, fully understanding and counting on the fact that their true insidious plan was not just the usual destruction of one of the Alliance's key strategic bases, but something much greater and more dangerous, the capture of reinforcements. It is absolutely logical to assume that after such a large-scale, destructive, and high-profile attack, loyal allies would immediately send powerful military reinforcements to heroically rescue the important key figures and commanders who miraculously survived and, critically important for the future, to preserve or quickly evacuate the most valuable secret technologies, blueprints, and prototypes that could theoretically have survived somewhere in the deep basements of the destroyed ruins of the base. That is why there is a very high and well-founded probability that in the first part of the long-awaited episode, we will finally see the epic appearance of either G-Man with his mysterious technologies, or a completely updated and modernized Titan Speakerman with new weapons, or even both legendary characters at once in one frame. Personally, I am more intuitively inclined towards the realistic option that the G-Man will be the first to appear on the field of bloody battle, because his phenomenal speed of instant reaction to threats and his supreme combat mobility allow him to physically get to the right critical place for rescue faster than anyone else. At the same time, the mighty Titan Speakerman will most likely, logically, go to provide urgent assistance to his own squad, which found itself in a critically difficult, almost hopeless situation, back in the memorable 78th episode after a sudden, devastating attack by the powerful Astro carrier. If we develop this interesting idea further and try to logically predict the structure of all three expected parts, the overall picture of the narrative may look something like this. In the first dramatic part, we will see the G-Man heroically and selflessly fighting against the numerically superior Astro Duchess squad, desperately trying at all costs to save the miraculously surviving fighters and break through the dense enemy blockade. In the second intense part, the focus of the narrative will logically shift to Titan Speakerman, who will finally solemnly demonstrate to the whole world all his revolutionary new technologies, powerful weapons, and tactical capabilities in a large-scale spectacular battle against the dangerous Astro carrier that previously attacked the defenseless Speakerman armada. And in the third, climactic final part, we may well see them united in one cohesive team, acting together against a common deadly threat to the entire alliance. And by that critical moment, it is quite realistic that G-Man will already have received his long-awaited unique Titan suit, which will finally equalize him in power, protection, and capabilities with the other legendary Titans of the Alliance. It is also interesting that in the raw excerpt shown, we did not see Watchmen of Doom, one of the most mysterious, powerful, and controversial characters. Most likely, at this point in time, he is still in an epic confrontation with Jeffrey, the mysterious guardian of the secret dimension of TV men. As we all remember from previous shocking episodes, after Watchmen of Doom unexpectedly entered this mysterious parallel dimension through a portal, he began to behave extremely aggressively and irrationally, literally destroying everything in his path without the slightest discernment or control. However, at a certain critical moment, Jeffrey simply could not tolerate such blatant lawlessness and vandalism on his sovereign territory and made it very clear to the uninvited guest that this was exclusively his world, his personal domain, and that he was the one who kept order here and set the rules of conduct. A huge question remains unanswered, for which there is still no clear answer. Does Watchmen of Doom have even the slightest real chance of winning in an unequal battle with Jeffrey and getting out alive? After all, as we clearly saw in those frames, Jeffrey's massive hand alone, with its impressive size and scale, is quite comparable to the Titan itself, which speaks to the colossal difference in strength. This epic confrontation between the giant and the Titan can safely be considered one of the key and most intriguing storylines, the full dramatic unfolding of which we have yet to see in future episodes. Now let's talk in more detail and specifically about what exactly we can expect in the full completed version of episode 80, because the expectations and hopes for this release are simply enormous. This is not just another ordinary episode, but an anniversary issue. It is the true culmination of many important storylines that have been building and developing over long months of tense anticipation. First, we simply need to see the logical continuation and full disclosure of the exciting story of Watchmen of Doom. Will it be a battle to the death for total annihilation? Or will Jeffrey find an alternative way to expel the aggressive guest from his dimension back to the real world? Secondly, it is important to finally reveal the tragic secret of the camera woman and understand the true, deep motives behind her actions. What exactly happened to this character that was so tragic? Was it the result of technological control by the Watchmen of Doom? Or is there something much more complex and psychologically profound behind it? Perhaps a conscious sacrifice to save other more important characters, or the revelation of some terrible truth? After all, we still don't understand what really happened to her, because the scene at the Speakerman base, where the camera woman was, simply shocked us. I hope they explain it to us somehow in episode 80. Thirdly, the storyline of the detective cameraman and the mysterious plunger man is extremely interesting and promising. Will the detective be able to successfully extract critically important secret memories and information from the damaged consciousness of the plunger man? Will the plunger man himself still play an active role in the further development of this exciting series? Perhaps not as a completely independent character with his own storyline, but, for example, in a completely new role as a secret agent's assistant, which would open up completely new and exciting possibilities for the development of the plot. When will the full, finished, and polished version of episode 80 finally be released? When will we be able to see it in its entirety, with all the dramatic dialogue, epic music, and special effects? Judging by the leak, the visual rendering of the main key scenes is already complete and looks technically impressive. However, important elements, character dialogues, final voice acting, perfect smoothness of animation movements, and small visual particles are still actively undergoing thorough refinement and final polishing. Considering all this impressive volume, a realistic release date would be the end of February. That is, of course, if there are no unforeseen delays or serious technical problems with the rendering, and given the current situation, anything can be expected. As for the total duration and timing of the full 81st episode, I assume that each of the 3 expected parts will last 5 full minutes of pure screen time. Already, in the excerpt from the first part, it is quite clear that a single scene with dialogue between the characters takes about 1 minute. Most likely after this scene, when the wounded cameraman falls to the ground, we will see a transition to another location via a tablet, where we will be shown either the return of the Speakerman Titan or footage of the Speakerman Armada from episode 78. Only your likes and channel subscriptions motivate me to create videos and search for relevant news about Skibidi Toilets. Thank you very much. I am Super Cameraman. We will win.